Hey, whatever floats your boat. Here's your look at the new Mezco toys. This is the 112 Collective. It's Pennywise. The 112 Collective It Pennywise figure captures the demonic clown as he appears in the 2017 film. The shapeshifter features 4 head portraits with expressions from the film. Pennywise comes outfitted with the clown costume with ruffled detailing around the collar, wrists, and ankles. He also comes complete with his infamous red balloon, Georgie's severed arm, Georgie's paper boat, and the framed painting of the eerie woman that hung in Stanley's father's office. The first thing we're going to do is figure out how tall the 112 Collective Pennywise stands. I think it stands to reason that most of these are probably about the same height to one another, as they utilize similar body molds. And then, of course, they're wrapped in fabric. According to the Ultra Measure-Tron 5000, though, the 112 Collective Pennywise from the It 2017 film stands impressively at 6.5 inches in height. And that in centimeters works out to be 16.2, so just a little over 16.5 centimeters tall. Let's get the basics out of the way. I say basics because these are the things that you would expect to find with all the 112 Collective figures. That being the Ziploc bag in which you can store the contents, the accessories that come included with the figure. If your penmanship is good, of course, you can also hand write in the little white section there, Pennywise from It 2017 if you wanted to. Or you could also use a label maker if you don't feel like your writing would be up to par. But nonetheless, these are good. These are handy. I mean, you can make joke of them, the fact that they're just simply Ziploc bags with the little print down below. But they do certainly come in handy if you want to display these and you don't have to want to start trekking down all those empty boxes that you've got kicking around, or the boxes, what's left of the accessories kicking around, checking your storage, checking your totes, checking those, storage facilities where you probably have to pay monthly fees. You don't have to drive all that way. Just have maybe look for, maybe the Georgie's arm, for example. You decide one day you want to put Georgie's arm out on display with a 112 Collective Pennywise. You gotta admit, these are a little bit simpler. Other things that come included with Pennywise that are staples for the 112 Collective. I'm doing my best to pick this up and not get any more fingerprints than I've already gotten on this. You've got the same trademark circular display base that all the other 112 Collective figures do come with. Although this one, I must admit, is a lot shinier. You can see there it's a very shiny black surface. Very much the victim of many a fingerprints. Thank goodness I haven't gotten any more fingerprints on it. I tried to wipe this down nicely before I started hitting record. The only thing that's on there of the otherwise absent space of black is the scripted, scratched in I and T, of course making out it. And that would be what Pennywise will be standing atop of. A couple of different options you can go with. I'm sure you've seen these before, but he does have peg holes on the undersides of his feet. Where are those going to go? Well, he does have a little connecting peg right there. You can just attach his feet like so, and you can have Pennywise standing on top. These are certainly characters that I wouldn't put in any other strange poses, certainly not one of which that I would have him leaving the ground. Although, to be fair, Pennywise, unlike the Freddy Krueger that we just recently had a look at, could be justified by having him in a floating pose. Let me just show you how you can pull that off. He does also come with this, and this is what you would need in order to display him in a levitating pose. It is a 3-sectioned adjustable neck, technically 4 if you want to count the waist clip, and this opens and closes. It's all done in clear plastic. I'm a little iffy when it comes to the waist clip, but nonetheless, these are nice, good, tight joints, and you can attach it to the display base. How do you attach it to the display base? Well, the easiest way to do is just pop it upside down, take the bottom peg, and simply just pop that through. Just line it up like that, pop it straight through. Granted, yes, it's going to be upside down, but you're going to turn that frown upside down and reverse the steps. You're going to pop that back through the top, and now you've got yourself a little adjustable waist clip. If you wanted to, though not quite from the first It, you could certainly have kind of Pennywise floating with his balloons. And of course you'll make use of the balloon I'll show you guys in a second, but you can adjust Just put him on the adjustable waist clip like that. Pinch things shut. And you've got yourself Pennywise floating in the air. That looks kind of cool, doesn't it? Probably not what I am going to be displaying him as, but certainly does give you some possibilities if you happen to pick up this piece for yourself. I kind of like the fact that he does have the option. Again, it wouldn't work necessarily with a Freddy Krueger or Jason Voorhees, some of the other 112 collected figures that we had to look at on this channel, but I think it most definitely could potentially work with Pennywise when we have a look at things like his balloon and some of the other accessories that come included with them. Next, let's cover off the accessories that come included with Pennywise. You get this really neat lenticular, though it's not super lenticular, of the Flute Lady. Of course, the run-in that Stanley would have to encounter in his father's office. The Flute Lady was a terrifying sight to be seen in the film. Hopefully one day we will get ourselves a true Flute Lady in an actual figure. I don't know if you can see it, though. The lenticular works only just to really adjust the mouth. You can see it slightly closes, slightly opens, and rinse and repeats. It's a nice little piece, finished all the way around as well. Some credit to Mezco Toys for finishing everything front and back. You can see there's a bit of a wood grain that they've added to it. Overall, just a nice little piece. It doesn't really have the necessary means to hang, but I suppose if you put a little bit of tape, maybe on the back, you could put that behind Pennywise if you want to put him on display like that. Just a nice overall piece to come included with the figure. Let's have a look at some of the other things he comes included with. He comes with the SS Georgie, and hopefully you can see that okay. There we go, right there. The SS Georgie. It would be so wrong for Pennywise to not include this little first appearance of the clown. Of course, the SS Georgie going downstream. This is where we first get our appearance, our first sight of the evil clown. To leave that out would be so wrong. Nice little accompanying piece. You do have technically a hand that can hold the SS Georgie, and it just kind of fits in his hand like so. Whoops! try not to drop it in the process. Quickly retrieving the SS Georgie so we don't actually lose it. You can see how Pennywise's hand does cup the small, tiny little boat. You can most definitely display the figure holding the SS Georgie, or one better. We'll just put that down for a second. You can also display him with a little other part of Georgie, and that would be his severed arm. The arm itself still grasping for life, though not the rest of its body is connecting to it. You can see a nice little dolloping of blood that's been added. You can see even how the stump has been severed. I guess the stump would be up here and the rest of the arm further down. Just a nice gruesome little piece, a little specimen that you could display with the figure. And you could technically even use like the same hand, same hand that is, that held the SS Georgie. You can kind of just pry the thumb away. I got dry hands, so I'm using some moisturizer. It's causing everything to be slipping on me. There's the hand at least. You can retrieve the hand that just dropped down below there. Yes, I've got really, really dry hands for this, sadly, this review, so we're using some moisturizer. But nonetheless, that is, you can get the Georgie arm inside Pennywise's hand, just like that, and you can have them displayed and held like so. Let's have a look at some of the other accessories. It comes included with the balloon, the red balloon, and you can see that they've sort of done the same thing that we've seen before with gallery statues from Diamond Select. They sort of have put like a little plastic peg, or a little plastic stopper, if you will, between the thumb, or I guess wedged inside the palm there, just to kind of keep the balloon from sliding up and down. It's not as noticeable. I don't see it, certainly from a distance. I don't know if you see it from a distance or not. And the balloon stem, the string, if you will, is all a wire frame. I really try to avoid, if anything, bending these because I never can quite get them straight again. I don't really know why you would want to be bending and manipulating the string of the balloon anyways, but that's what the balloon looks like, just a simple red balloon. Let's have a look at the other accessories. It comes included with some rather grotesque looking hands, a precursor to what we eventually will see in the true form, or one of the forms of Pennywise later on. You can see how the fingers have extended, breaking their way out of the fabric fingers of the gloves. And some nice detailing done there in white. There's the top of the hands there as well. I'll show you how to put those into his sockets first in a second. And then he also comes with a pair of grabbing hands. Of course, if he's going to be capturing, grabbing, and eating children, he most definitely will be having to use the necessary hands to pull off such a feat. You can see he does come included with those as well. To change out the hands, let me go ahead and just pop out one of the hands so you guys can see. Simply just a case of wiggling that off, just like so. And then let's just take one of the gruesome looking hands. There we go. Just so you guys can see a contrast, a difference of two. There you go. There's the one hand there, and there's the regular, normal. I don't know if I would ever quote normal for Pennywise, but you can see there's the two difference of hands. Let's have a look at the heads. Moving on from the hands, let's have a look at the heads that come included with the figure. This is the defaulted head, immediately out of packaging. Untouched by hopefully other collectors. If you certainly have gotten this home for yourself directly from the comic book store, this is the immediate head that you'll be treated to. And not a bad looking head, all things considered. The orange is a decent orange. It's not overly bright. Some of the mishaps, unfortunately, from earlier release Pennywise is they go the route of a very bright orange. I like that they toned that down a bit on this release. The airbrushing done to the very top of his head is really subtle and transitioned nicely, so it's a little bit darker along the top and edges its way to a more lighter complexion as it gets further to his face. The one thing, unfortunately, it does miss, and I granted, yes, understand the fact that this is a smaller figure, but it's missing those little crack lines that, of course, this particular Pennywise would be sporting. I'm not sure why they specifically left it off. I mean, the airbrushing certainly is a nice touch, and it gives a very polished look to the face. But I certainly would have appreciated a little bit of those cracks at the top of his forehead, his 5 head or 6 head, if you will. Nice demonic smile on this particular head portrait. You can see how the eyes are sort of moving their way further up, and so that if you angle the head down, oh, that's a nice look. Look how cool that looks. Bit of a sheen added to the lips and the nose so that they do have a bit of a reflective surface to them. Overall, a really neat looking head portrait. Now that's one of 4. You do get a fair share of heads, as you seem to be the case with many of the 112 collective figures. You also have this head portrait. I'm starting from least interested to the more greater interested as we move along. This is probably one of my least favorite head portraits. The eyes aren't so bad. I mean, if anything, you could say that the eyes are exact the same as the ones on this one. But there's something about the mouth that I'm just not digging. I'm not crazy about. This sort of is the moment in which Pennywise goes from laughing, smiling, and happy-go-lucky clown, becomes a little bit more sterner, and then immediately proceeds to eat you. And that seems to be kind of the look that I'm getting here. You'll also see the very long neck that all of these heads will sport. When you do pop the head off, and I'll show you guys how that works in a second as well. Gives you a sufficient amount of neckage. All about sufficient neckage. But that's the other head, least favorite head, personally speaking. Then we also have this head here. Very cool looking head portrait. Strong contender for a possible permanent place on this guy's shoulders. I really do like that head portrait. Look at the rows of teeth. You want to talk rows of teeth on a great white. Pennywise puts that to shame. Look at that series of rows of teeth. That's kind of looks like the inside of a pumpkin when you're carving and taking out the innards. All the liner inside the pumpkin has all those seeds stuck to them. It kind of looks like pumpkin seeds. Very cool looking face portrait though. And last, certainly not least, but last, you also have this one. Sort of the after effect of the more neutral-faced Pennywise that we first had a look at, or second had a look at. And you've got this head portrait here. Now this one you do get a little bit more of the wrinkles and cracking along the top of the forehead, or 5 head if you will. An elongated jaw. That's not going to go well. It's definitely not going to go well. So there's those heads. Let's pop off the head so I can show you how it works. You're just going to grab the torso, both sides, get a good fix for it, and then pop that right off and pop in what I feel is one of my favorite head portraits, this one right here. which was sort of dubbed by other companies as the Well House Pennywise. That's what it looks like when you pop that back into place. Very nice looking head portrait. Scary and nice paint, though again, lacking the bits of the cracking and stuff along the top of the forehead. I think would have completed the look rather nicely. As for the rest of Pennywise's outfit, of course, he's got the old vintage ruffled clown costume, which works very well here in 112 Collected, being that these are all wrapped in fabric. They have their own tailored costume, after all. It really lends itself well to a character like Pennywise. Underneath all this, I would imagine it's probably the same body mold as maybe just recently they looked at Freddy Krueger. And then, of course, what's over top of it is what's different. The brand new costume with the collar, top collar there, the ruffled collar, the poofed shoulder sleeves there. Poofed sections of his, I promise I won't say poofed for all of this. Ruffled sleeves. And then you got the ruffled cuffs at the bottom of the pants. I still find these a bit of an issue is the feet, something I mentioned with recently looking at Freddy Krueger. The feet themselves don't seem to go far enough up. I mean, they go down fine and they do rotate fine, but I don't find the feet go nearly enough further up. If they just added a bit of clearance right at the top there, it would allow for the feet to go a little bit higher up. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it does seem, and certainly standing it reinstates that the feet don't sit completely flat. They sort of sit more on an angle. And because you can't bring these feet up anymore, you're sort of relegated to balancing these guys off, or of course making use of the display stand that comes included with the figures. And thank goodness for that, he does have the peg holes on the undersides of his feet. That's about the only real detractor I've noticed with many of these 112 Collected figures, is that they really should give you enough means to be able to bring the feet further up. Or, like I said, you can make use of that display stand. Probably a good idea to make use of that display stand. Let's have a look at this guy's articulation. As you probably already saw with the way I attached the head rotates all the way around via that ball joint, and it moves up and down. You can move the head far enough down that if you want to have that real sinister look of clown looking right back at you, you can pull off that feet, but you can't really move the head too far back. It sort of stops at the back of his torso. And again, the head can rotate all the way around. He has an upper torso ball joint, and he as well has a lower torso ball joint. The arms move out at a 90-degree angle. I don't seem to have any issues when it comes to these figures being posable, despite for the fact that he does have fabric all around from head, basically from neck to, well, ankle, really. He doesn't seem restricted. I mean, you can move the arm completely free. You can move the arm forward and back, no problem. Jack. You can swivel the bicep. He has a double hinge on the elbow. There goes one of the hands. The legs split. You get almost a full split happening on Pennywise. Legs go forward, legs go back. He has a swivel and about a 3/4 cut of the thigh. He has a double hinge happening on his knee. And as we'd already discussed, his feet do rotate all the way around. He technically does also have top boots articulation. You can rotate, in other words, at the top of his boot. The feet only move up slightly, which again could cause some problems with getting this guy to properly stand, and you can rotate his feet back and forth. A nice looking Pennywise. Absent, yes, of one hand. We will be rectifying that before final looks, but overall a nice looking figure. Again, the real problem with these particular pieces is not the detailing that Mezco toys put into them. Oh, no, no, no. The real problem with these is, again, the price point. Something I've mentioned a couple of times already. You know what? We'll get the display stand going. I'm not going to fight with this the rest of the afternoon. Certainly, you guys have places you want to go, people you want to see. So let's just get him on his display stand and get him to properly stand. Yes, as I said, one of the real problems with these pieces is that Mezco Toys sets the price tag rather high on all of these. I don't know what it costs necessarily from a production standpoint, but when it boils down to a figure being about an $80 US price point, when you compare it to other retro cloth figures on the market, these ones are also a little bit smaller as well. What you do get is a rather impressive looking Pennywise, but unfortunately what you also get with that is a very pricey price tag as well. Pennywise gets himself a nice little release from the folks over at Mezco Toys, though again, along with that, gets a more heftier price tag. It's not something, of course, I would encourage everybody pick up unless they have the necessary funds available, because most often at times, probably the figures you're picking up are a $20 to $30 price point. You pretty much have to multiply that by 3 times in order to pick up a 112 collective Pennywise. But what does an $80 price point, or here in Canada over $100, get you? It gets you a pretty detailed looking Pennywise, well tailored in his costume with all the necessary accessories and alternate heads that you would want. But again, you're paying for a premium. And it's a debatable topic, of course, the idea of picking up these pieces for yourself. Could Mezco Toys mark the price point down a little bit more? I personally think yes. I don't expect these figures necessarily to be a $30 figure. I understand there's costs involved to producing them, but I do think the figures probably could be a little bit closer to $50. I don't think they have to be another $30 on top of that. How do you guys feel about the 112 collective figures? Personally speaking, the ones that I have picked up, I've been really impressed with. I just think they're a bit on the expensive side. Pennywise does look good, but does he look $80 good? That, of course, again, is the debatable question. If you've managed to pick up this one for yourself, or based on this review, let me know down below in the comments section what you guys think of the new 112 collective Pennywise the Clown. A decent looking release. If you guys want to go back and have a look at some of my other Mezco Toys reviews, there's a playlist specifically for Mezco Toys. And speaking of Mezco Toys, that is, we're going to be having a look at a whole bunch of Mezco releases and some upcoming videos. So if you haven't had a chance yet to do so, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and turn on the bell notification so that when future videos, including Mezco releases, are coming onto this channel, you won't be the person that's missing out. As always, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys next time.